Welcome back to the Global Woke Institute's podcast, Where's the Love? I'm Rich Pellegrino, the Equalizer, Rich the Equalizer Pellegrino, your host. If I sound down, I am. I'm extremely sad and mad, and I'll tell you why. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Global Woke Institute, and of course our Facebook, Instagram pages, and so forth. And our website is howwokeami.org. But let's get right to it and get some healing here. Healing medicine, spiritual medicine, because I need it, and hopefully you do as well. And this is why. This week, we've all been, hopefully, anyone with a heart, anyone who's woke or awakened at all, their mind, their heart, to the tragedy, the genocide that's taking place in Gaza, the unbelievable death toll in Ukraine, all unnecessary wars and violence that are supported, facilitated, and really by the U.S., by us, the U.S., and really wouldn't be existing at all or taking place were it not for us and our support, our government's support of it. But anyway, this week you heard, of course, you may have heard that hostages in Gaza, Israeli hostages, were rescued, a daring rescue. There was every reason to celebrate. The news, the mainstream news showed, the release of the rescue of the hostages, the celebration of Israeli people, the celebration of our president visiting in Europe and other European leaders, of the Israeli leaders, and so forth. And amidst all this celebration, the news slipped in, just for a few seconds, the fact that this rescue did not take place without a terrible price to the Palestinians. Over 200 murdered by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, to rescue these 4 hostages, half of them women and children. Okay, how can this be? How can that be an afterthought? It made me, forgive me, I am not a cussing person. People ask, you're from New York, but we never hear you cuss. So when you hear me cuss, it's something, It made me post on social media, fuck the hostages, fuck Biden, fuck Netanyahu, fuck all of these people that look at human life, children, needless suffering as collateral damage to their agendas. I mean, this is the worst possible outcome. And so, I went out, wrote all over my car, stop the effing genocide, made a new poster, because every weekend I've been going to the town square here and holding up signs, ceasefire, since November, since this genocide started. And now I added to it, stop the effing genocide. Okay? Enough is enough. So, pardon me for my ranting and venting, but the theme of this is where is the love, because we know that's the only thing that's going to solve this, is love, spiritual love, agape love, whatever you want to call it. We'll define that to a deeper degree. That was our theme song at the opening episode, Where's the Love by the Black Eyed Peas. If you missed that, go back and watch that episode and listen to the lyrics. So tonight, as always, we're going to have a song, an inspirational song, a channel for the spiritual inspiration and creativity, Michael Jackson healed the world. And as I've mentioned before, he was an incredible channel for spiritual inspiration worldwide. And this is the Global Woke Institute. We're trying to learn how to be woke globally, not within nationally or within our own community only, but globally, because it's a neighborhood. The world is a neighborhood, and we are one. Whether we admit it, whether we know it, whether we feel it or not, the reality is we are one. And that's what wokefulness means to us. So I'm not going to rant any longer. I'm going to play the music, and hopefully it'll bring some healing to me, you, and anybody that's suffering in any way possible in your personal lives, in your community, families' lives, and in the world, and these tragedies and travesties that are taking place and supported by our governments. We'll talk a little bit about that during the break. So here's the tune, and I'll be back.
Think about the generations, and to say we want to make it a better place for our children and our children's children, so that they know it's a better world for them, and think if they can make it a better place.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place is much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel. There are dreams, we stop existing and start living. Then it feels that always love's enough for us growing. People dying. If you care enough If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. Make a better place for you and for me. Make a better place for you and for me. Make a better place for you and for me. 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 Where we live for me. For our children for me. Where we live for me. For our children for me. Where we live for me. For our children for me. The world we live for me. For our children.
And feeling a little bit better after being uplifted by that beautiful song, those beautiful lyrics, channeled by Michael Jackson, who was truly an inspiration and a channel for spiritual guidance, I believe, like many artists are, and all of us can in our own ways. So let's talk a little bit about the lyrics before we listen to the song again, meditate on it. Okay, it starts out by saying, heal the world if you care enough for the living. Okay, so this is all about caring, healing, healing. Let me look at the lyrics, Healing has to start within. Okay, we know that. And it starts out saying there's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. Okay, so that's where all healing starts, right in our heart. Spiritual healing, emotional healing, and even many aspects of physical healing start in your spirit, in your heart. And remember, we talked about we're body, mind, and spirit. This is holistic. Being woke means being holistically one with yourself, within yourself, and one with each other. And so there's a place in our hearts, and we know that it's love. This is where we need to get to. This is where we need to. A true leader will inspire us to get to that place in our heart that is love. Now, our political leaders are not true leaders. Okay, a true leader was Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, Coretta Scott King, Harriet Tubman, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, and many, many others, and many of the artists that we'll be featuring that help you get to a place in your heart that's love. Okay, unconditional love. Okay, and so that's what we need. Those are the people that we need to surround ourselves with, whether living or in the next world. We certainly have their music, their speeches, their acts of love. YouTube is great because you can find any of this inspiration, all of it, in video, both visually and audio there. So remember, we're talking about our spiritual vitamins. We hope this podcast is one of those vitamins that will help you make it through the day. So moving on in the song, in this place you'll feel there's no hurt or sorrow. Okay, so that's when you know that you're in a God's love, let's say, or in the love of the universe, okay? Because even the negative things, you can see the silver lining, the reason for them, okay? And it says there are ways to get there. That's what we're talking about, the spiritual vitamins, inspirational music and art, prayer, meditation, yoga, which means union with God. So there are ways to get that place to that place in your heart where there's only love, and then to act upon it, not to just pray for things to get better. You know, there's the joke, the funny story in my wife's country in the Caribbean, where there was a lady who went and put her clothes by a tree to get washed and prayed and prayed and prayed that God would wash them. And of course, that never happened because what God, the higher power of your understanding, the universe, that inspires us to act and to do for ourselves and for each other. That's how things get done. So there are ways to get there, Michael says in the song. If you care enough for the living, okay, make a little space and make a better place. Okay, so it's all about caring. You know, do we care for the living? Do we care for the homeless? You know, can we be comfortable while there's people in the heat and the cold outside living? And definitely, can we be comfortable while, you know, children are being massacred, tortured, you know, in the name of what? Democracy? Civilization? None of that. None of it. That's not true at all. It's in the name of money, dominance, oppression, exploitation, because that's what the systems, the political systems and economic systems are based upon right now. And of course, you can read all about that on our website and so forth. I'm not just expressing opinion, but a lot of references and facts. But let's get back to the song. So make a better place, heal the world, okay? And where does the world start? Within us, okay? There's a whole world, the whole universe, really God within us, okay? There's a great Christian spiritual teacher, Neville Goddard. Look up his videos on YouTube. And his audio and video, great inspiration about what the Bible really says and what Jesus really taught, not what churchianity teaches us. Okay, so heal the world. The world starts within. Remember, we in the last episode we talked another Michael Jackson inspirational tune, "The Man in the Mirror." Start with ourselves. Okay, that's where the healing has to take place. And by the way, as you can tell, and as I stated, you know, I'm in a place of sadness and anger over what's going on in the world right now. And so just doing this little bit of service and sharing it with my intentional community, that means you. You don't have to be physically together to be part of a community. That helps heal me as well. So for you and for me and the entire human race, okay? Again, we're at the global age. We're not in a day where we don't know the people who live on the other side of the mountain, okay? In the last 150, 200 years, we've become a neighborhood. Before that, people didn't know the people on the other side of the mountain. They didn't interact. Okay? That's why the scriptures, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, all of them are speaking to specific audiences, okay? Because they weren't speaking to all humanity at that time, because all humanity was not one neighborhood. So that each spoke to the culture. You know, you have to have the context of who they were talking to. And even though there's a thread with all the prophets and spiritual teachers of oneness, the social teachings were all tailored to the time that people were living in the place. So the last 200 years, in that period, with transportation, communication, virtual internet, social media, all of this technology, all of this advancement, yes, it's progress, is helping us advance to the next stage in our collective identity as a world, as one race, okay, in one world. And so now we're a neighborhood, and we need teachings that are geared towards global oneness, global realization. And of course, I derived that from the scriptures of the Baha'i faith, as I've mentioned before, because it was revealed in this period, okay, by another prophet, Baha'u'llah, just like Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, Krishna, Buddha, Zoroaster, and others, many others. Okay, and it's over 100 volumes of teachings about this age of a global society. So anyway, Michael's saying for you and for me and the entire human race, okay? Because sometimes we feel powerless. How can we affect the children in Gaza? Well, if we affect ourselves and the people around us, then we do. It has ripple effects going outward. And I'm going to talk at the end about some specific things that actually directly impact what's going on in Gaza and Ukraine. Some specific things you can do that I'm doing. So Michael says for you and for me and the entire human race, okay, that there are people dying. I mean, and if you care enough for the living, you'll make a better place for you and for me. So there's no such thing as collateral damage. There's no reason for people to be dying through famine, war, genocide, all of these man-made catastrophes. Okay, these are man-made. These are not God-made or nature-made. These are man-made. These are our lower nature. When we don't have love, when we don't have healing, when we're basically bullies because we don't love ourselves and don't know our authentic identities, or the authentic identities of our culture, nation, people, or the world, it causes us to act out in violence towards others and towards ourselves. Okay? So this journey, this podcast is all about finding our authentic identity, which leads to loving ourselves and loving others. That's the only places that it can lead if it's authentic. Okay? Other than that, it's artificial. No matter what you've been taught in school, in church, in temple, wherever, if it's not leading you to that place of wonder, or even by your parents, okay, who I'm sure never mean to mislead or anything, but sometimes they just hand down traditions that they haven't really checked out to see the veracity of them. But they're doing it out of love. But it's a lopsided, it's an incomplete love. Okay. And I'm not faulting my parents or any parents at all. We do the best we can. I'm a parent of 8, and I'm sure they can tell you about mistakes that I've made, and I admit them. Okay, so getting back to the song, make a better place for you and for me. This is really important. As we try to help the world, really who are we helping? Ourselves, our families, our immediate surroundings. Okay. There's really no way to sacrifice, because everything we do to serve others ends up benefiting us 10, 20, 30 times more than it benefits the people we're, quote, helping or serving. Okay. And that's just a dynamic of how the universe and the world is set up. So that's a way to make a better place for you and for me, and start by healing. That's how we heal the world. Okay, we're going to go on with some of the lyrics. And as you can tell, as I'm talking to you, I'm reviewing the lyrics of this song. Okay, so Michael says, if you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and me. And then he goes on to say, if you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong. It only cares of joyful giving. Exactly. If we try, we shall see. Exactly what I was just talking about. Okay. In this bliss, we cannot feel. Okay. We can't feel anger. We can't feel hate in this bliss, in that true love, and so forth, or separation, or prejudice, or bigotry. Okay. I mean, so inspirational. You know, these are prophets. Michael Jackson was a prophet, just like the Old Testament prophets, and so forth. In the Baha'i teaching, there's two levels of prophets, the minor prophets and major prophets. The major prophets are all the revealers of scripture and religion and civilizations that I've mentioned: Buddha, Krishna, Zoroaster, Abraham, Moses, Christ, Muhammad, the Baha'u'llah. And then there's minor prophets. Guess what? The Baha'i writings say everyone can be a minor prophet. If you learn your power, your spiritual power, you can see, you can envision, and so forth. There's ways to do this. Artists are visionary prophets. Dr. King, spiritual leaders, visionary prophets. Okay? So in this bliss, he goes on to say, we cannot feel fear or dread. We stop existing and start living. Okay? So no longer will we feel fear or dread when we're living in that. The anger and sadness I was feeling is my lower nature, right? Because I'm not living in that love. Okay. And I'm not saying there's such a thing as righteous anger and certainly righteous sadness. Okay. When we see these atrocities and this suffering. Okay. But in order to do something about it, we have to heal ourselves in the world. Otherwise, we'll wallow in depression. So this enables us, according to Michael, to stop existing and start living. Okay? That's what really living is. Right now, I hate to say it, because of we're bombarded with all of this tragedy and travesty, news, and everywhere around us, a lot of people shut it off. Okay? They shut it off. And they're just existing. You hear people all the time, I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to do one day at a time, get to the next day. Many of us, we're all at that stage sometimes because we can't be woke 24 hours a day. You need your sleep. You need your rest. Okay? And so, but generally, collectively, we need to stop just existing and start living in that love. That's the true healing. Okay? So much inspiration from MJ. Then it feels that always love's enough for us growing to make a better world. Okay? He gives the prescription, really. I mean, this is what you pay therapists hundreds of dollars for in this one song. He gives the prescription. Okay? And we've got so much prescriptions. All the prophets have given us. There's so much guidance in all of the scriptures, so much of this. Pick yours, choose yours. You don't have to choose mine, although the Baha'i is the most comprehensive and includes all of the scriptures. Okay? But again, if you don't want to be overwhelmed, choose Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, lesser prophets, Dr. King's videos, will help you live rather than just exist, as Michael is suggesting, and to make a better world and to heal the world, make it a better place, right? For you and for me and the entire human race. It bears repeating over and over again. There are people dying needlessly if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. And the dream we were conceived in will reveal a joyful face. Okay? And the dream we were conceived in will reveal a joyful face. We were conceived, you and I, according to my understanding of the scriptures, the Baha'i scriptures, as all the scriptures, I should say. The Baha'i is just the most recent, okay? But we've been taught so much wrong about the past, about Christian, about the Bible, about the Quran, and so forth. It's been used to oppress people when it's all about loving and healing. So let me go back. Okay. I get talking and okay. Conceived, the world we were conceived in will give us a joyful face, and believed in will shine again in grace. Okay? So we were conceived as noble beings, not sinful, no matter what anyone teaches you. I'm happy to debate anybody. I've studied the Bible, I've studied the Aramaic, I've studied all the scriptures. Okay, the human being, our nature is noble, positive, not degraded and sinful. Yes, we have tendencies when we leave our nobility to do wrong and to degrade ourselves, but that is not our nature. That's not human nature, okay? Because we see all of this war and tragedy, pundits, some religious, some scientific, some psychologists, philosophers have offered that this is just human nature. This is the way we are. We're violent. We're negative. We're evil, and that's not true at all. Okay, and so when you really learn our true nature, that's transformative. Okay, so again, Michael is hitting on it. The world, the character that we believed in, that we were born in, will shine again in grace. Okay, once we understand this, then why do we keep strangling life, wound this earth, crucify its soul, though it's plain to see the world is heavenly, be God's glow? Okay, what other prescription do you need? Okay, this is church. Okay, just because it's coming from an artist, a performer, it's no less potent than coming from a preacher, pastor, imam, whatever. By the way, in the Baha'i teaching, there's no clergy. That clergy were needed in the past because people couldn't read and write for themselves. They were the educated class. They educated themselves and then interpreted the scriptures in the Bible and the Quran for the people. We can all do that now and interpret for ourselves. We don't need them. We don't need them any longer. And I'm not putting down those preachers and pastors and religious leaders that are righteous and helping to lead us the right way. But if they're helping to lead us the right way, they should be helping us to understand our own and interpret, and they should be learning from us, not preaching and yelling at us and telling us this is the way. That's not the way. Not in this age. That's for children. We're now reaching maturity as human beings where we can independently investigate truth. And science is part of it. Science and religion and spirituality have to go hand in hand, just like our mind and our heart spirit and soul. It's all one body. We're one body. Within our body, we have all of these parts. Okay? So, as I said before, we're a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. Our true essence is our spiritual powers, our soulful powers. They give us our intellect, our vision, all of our things. Okay, so let's learn our authentic selves, authentic identity. And as Michael Jackson says, MJ says, be God's glow. Glow. Glowing. Okay? I'm trying to glow. As I talk more, I was not glowing when I started this. But the inspiration from MJ, from the universe, let our spirits never die. In my heart, I feel you are all my brothers. Okay? Create a world with no fear. Okay? Can't say anything, can't add anything to that. It's just so true. It's just so righteous. Okay? You're all my brothers. That is the inevitable conclusion of healing and loving yourself, is that we're all brothers and sisters. We're one. Okay. Together we'll cry happy tears. See the nations turn their swords into plowshares. We could really get there if you cared enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world. Okay, there's nothing else I can say. I mean, I didn't say it. I'm just reading the lyrics that MJ channeled from the universe, from, again, there has to be something greater than us, whether it's other planets, other creatures, a spiritual being, and so forth. Whatever it is that's greater than us, our higher power, something that we don't understand, there's knowledge out there. We don't have it all in here. Nobody has all the truth. That's why we need each other to share in a loving manner. So anyway, I've spoken long enough about the song, but I'm so excited. It's so uplifting. It really is so uplifting. Thank you, MJ. You're so missed and so needed in this world. Your inspiration. It wasn't until we lose great people like MJ, when he passed early and prematurely, we had a little youth group here at the community center in South Cobb, and a great community activist, Gail Jones, helped, who always worked with the young people to help them develop their artistic and sports and other capacities in such a loving way. And she and some of my children were, especially my daughters, were blessed to be part of that group. And we put together a cover band and a cover group for Michael Jackson, and where we covered his songs and we put on performances, and it was so transformative because, again, we're just rechanneling his spirituality, okay, and the impact he had on the world. So let me play the song again, and take it in, meditate on it, enjoy, let it heal you, and open your hearts and minds to the love that we need to transform this world. And I'll be back after the song. Ciao.
think about the generations and to say we want to make it a better place for our children and our children's children, so that they know it's a better world for them and think if they can make it a better place.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place is much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel. There are dreams, we stop existing and start living. Then it feels that always love's enough for us growing. Make a better world, make a better world, heal the world, make
Okay, we're back. Hope you enjoyed that and derived the great healing and inspiration that I have from listening, meditating on it, and now discussing it, thinking about it. So, a couple of other housekeeping things before we get into a little bit more discussion. One is if you want to watch another great rendition of that, of Heal the World, look up Heal the World Super Bowl. Remember, Michael Jackson presented that song in great array at a Super Bowl. You want to see that video, really. It'll really inspire you. That's one little vitamin bit. Another one is, and I'm going to play it on a future episode, but you might want to listen to it now. I just heard it for the first time ever from the pop rock group in my day in the 70s, Three Dog Night. You may have heard them, you may not have. A song, Prayer for the Children. Really moving, very moving, and very appropriate for this time. Okay, so let's move from prayer to action. Okay, we still want prayer and spiritual vitamins and inspiration and meditation and music and so forth. And by the way, you can find a lot of this and a lot of what I speak of in references to both spiritual and religious references, as well as scientific and political and social and economic references on our website, howwokeami.org, and in our posts on our social media, Instagram and Facebook pages, Global Woke Institute and Global Woke Institute books, and Rich the Equalizer pages as well. So check us out there, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Global Woke Institute, and other episodes. Past episodes are there, the past two in this series, and some old episodes from previous series that were, attempts to do complete series. You could say false starts, but there's good content in the middle as well. So there's plenty of meat there, or if you're a vegetarian, plenty of non-meat, plant-based information. Okay, so let's move from the realm of prayer, meditation, healing, internal healing. We have to connect at some point. Connect that our mind and heart and spirit to our muscles and take action and do something about this war, this genocide, this violence in our streets. Just tonight in Atlanta, 2 mass shootings, and that's just every day, every week in America. Okay, we're not civilized. This is not, you can't characterize this as Western civilization. This is Western barbarism that's dressed up, in business suits and uniforms and all of this, and dressed up as civilized. But it certainly takes a lot of dressing. So, actions. What actions can we take? One is we're supporting a soup kitchen, 2 brothers that have started a soup kitchen. Both are Palestinians. One is here in the U.S., one is in Palestine, and his team in Palestine, they've been feeding the children. They've been risking their lives to put together great soups and feeding thousands. Soups that are both tasty and healthy. They've been going in fields, risking their lives, fields that have been bombed by the terroristic Israeli defense forces. And so on our website again and on our pages, you'll have links to this great initiative. There's a GoFundMe page where you can give small contributions. It just, helps you feel like you're participating, and who doesn't want to feed the children? So that's one small thing with direct consequences there, positive ones. Something more indirect is what I've been doing, and again, I don't say there's many different ways to act. Okay, but simply, you remember during George Floyd, the whole George Floyd thing in 2020, which was a grand awakening about Black Lives Mattering, that Black Lives Matter. People stood in their neighborhoods, one person or two people on a street corner in a neighborhood. People put up lawn signs, Black Lives Matter. It was worldwide. This was all over the U.S. in some of the areas right here in Cobb County. In East Cobb, which is traditionally white and conservative, you had this going on in many neighborhoods. People felt connected. They were connected by that tragedy and travesty of watching a grown man's life being snuffed out by a knee of a law enforcement officer who represented all of the best and evil, all of the worst and evil nature of law enforcement. Remember that we have two natures, good and evil. Okay, I'm sorry. Incorrect. Only one nature is good. Evil is the absence of good. Okay, there's no force, there's no devil, there's no manifestation of evil. It's not a power. It's just like darkness is the absence of light. There's no darkness, there's no force of darkness, there's no material darkness that you can measure. It's the absence of light. That's what evil is. Okay, and I get this from both spiritual teachings, the Baha'i teachings, and from science. There's branches of science that study all of this. And so science and religion or spirituality are in harmony, can be in harmony. So we can take some actions, individual actions. Oh, so I was talking about George Floyd and how that united the world, that tragedy being watched, and that brave young woman who videotaped it. And because she did that, she was attacked. She had death threats. The police tried to arrest her. She risked herself to broadcast what was going on, that travesty. Just like journalists in Israel have been sacrificing their lives. Journalists have been murdered in this genocide, which is almost unheard of. Usually it's accidental, but knowing the behavior of the terroristic behavior of the IDF, these journalists were probably targeted, some of them. The young lady brought us the George Floyd tragedy and travesty, and it united the world, literally, all over the world, where Black Lives Matter protests, first time ever. Before that, they were all pretty much confined to the U.S. There were some in Europe and other places, but nothing like what happened after George Floyd. And I was part of it, but believe it or not, that was a year of COVID, and I had contracted one of the first full-blown cases in Georgia and in the country early in 2020. I was in the hospital. I was in a coma, induced, being put on a ventilator. I couldn't breathe. And that's another whole story about intentional community. Yes, the doctors were heroic, not only the doctors, but all of the healthcare workers down to the sanitary workers, they all were risking their lives there. They had to wear, PPE suits and containment suits and so forth. It was all brand new. And they medically and physically saved my life. But at least half, if not more, of that was spiritual, was the spiritual and positive mental and emotional energy from my network of family, extensive family, my faith community, my community, intentional community, activist community from all over the country and even from out of the country. I got messages, of course, before and after I was in the coma. But I felt that, when I wanted to give up physically, and you do something, especially if you can't breathe, I asked to go on the ventilator because nothing else was working, not fully realizing that just gave me a 50-50 chance, basically, of coming through this. But I'm telling you this story because it's relating to breathing, okay? We had, in that 1 year, difficulty breathing due to COVID. And what did George Floyd say? I can't breathe. And that united the world. People's breath was taken by COVID and by that active terroristic law enforcement. Okay? And I'm not putting down all law enforcement. Many of them live in their higher natures, are trying to protect and serve, which is a very difficult task. And that's another whole story. It was almost a setup for failure in this corrupt system because they're asked to serve two gods, and or I should say two devils, really. And devil is just a symbolism. It's not a person or a thing or a force. But anyway, so I came out of the hospital, finally able to breathe again. I was weak, but I had to relearn how to function, basically, after being on life support. But I was healthy otherwise, so I bounced back real quick. And I was out on the protest lines, probably probably against doctors' wishes, even though I didn't ask for permission. I was out there, and even the media noted that because they were following both my sickness and recovery, since I was known to the media, or I am known to the media due to my activism and press conferences and so forth that I hold. And so they followed my illness and my recovery. And so they noted that here I was out, bouncing right out of the hospital to the George Floyd protests, Black Lives Matter protests, which I had been involved in previously and helped bring Black Lives Matter as an organization here to the Atlanta metro area. But that was in previous years. So, but the theme was breathing, which is real important, by the way. We're not, unless we're in sports or yoga or something, we're never taught to breathe properly, full breaths. And that's important, that to our mental and physical well-being. Breathing, of course, it's an integral part of yoga and many martial arts, many spiritual practices that are manifested in physical manifestations. But anyway, so so small things like that. Even though it wasn't small to George Floyd, of course, he was a sacrifice, a martyr. United the world. And now we see protests on college campuses. We see protests around the world protesting the horrors of the genocide against Palestinians. And not only this genocide, but decades of oppression, murder, terrorism practiced against the Palestinians by Israel and its allies, predominantly the U.S. and Europe. Okay? So, again, this is uniting us. So what action can you take? Well, yes, of course, you can join any of those protests that are in your area, but you can also do one person or two people protests of your own, which is what I've been doing since November in our town square in Marietta, just holding up a sign, ceasefire. At times, other signs. At times, I've combined it with other issues like immigration, and held up a sign together, another sign that said "Welcome all immigrants." That's another whole subject. But yeah, ceasefire, and now, as I mentioned at the beginning, now stop the effing genocide. Okay, can't say it any plainer than that, except saying the whole word, which I will do, and I have done to individuals, but of course, trying to avoid children with that, with the cussing. Anyway, so yeah, what effect does one person doing that every weekend for an hour on Saturday, an hour on Sunday have? Well, let me tell you, with social media, it's now been spread to thousands. People take pictures of it, people known to me who know me, and people that don't, and they spread it. And I get all the time, I get pictures sent to me of me doing that from people I know and people I don't know, or who knows somebody I know, so they can get my contact info to send me the pictures. And so, again, the simple acts, keep people awake, awokened, help with the healing, so we're not just existing, but living, okay? And that's one part of the story. The other part of the story is, remember I told you we can't ever sacrifice when we're serving and when we're enlightening and educating and awakening and awokening people. The benefit comes to us tenfold or 100-fold. So, this helps me, okay, to feel human, to be living, not just existing. And I may have told this story before, but it bears repeating. Somebody sent me this story about my one-man protest on Facebook, and it's a true story. I verified it. But during the Vietnam War, which I also protested back in the 70s, and I was arrested in the largest mass arrest in American history in Washington, D.C. That's another story you can read in my book, by the way, which is a memoir of many of the things that I'm saying on these podcasts, my journey to authentic identity. I am not white. One man's journey from whiteness to oneness, which you can get on Amazon, but I don't care about selling it or making money. If you know me, I'll be happy to give you free signed copies and so forth. Or I've even condensed it into a PDF that I can send to anybody. It doesn't have all the stories, but it has all the learning as a result of my adventures throughout my life. Okay, so back in the 70s, and by the way, that's my only claim to fame, is consistency, persistence. I've been doing this for over 50 years, okay? And many people have helped me. I've had mentors, my faith community, my family. I couldn't do this alone in any way, shape, or form. But I'm still here after all these years. How's that song go? Still rocking after all these years. And many times I could have been hurt, killed, imprisoned, for long times, but somehow I've been protected. And part of it is definitely white privilege, and that's a theme in my book. I've show how so many times I was a beneficiary of white privilege and blue privilege because my father was a police officer, New York City police officer. That's another whole story in the book. But anyway, that's my claim to fame. That's why I'm here sharing this, especially for young people, but for all of us, is that, I've learned a few things. I think they call it wisdom. I've learned a few things through 50 and 60 years of trying to stand up for what's right, trying to heal myself and others and help us all find our authentic identities and then put it into action. So anyway, there was a guy who used to stand in front of the White House with, I believe, a candle, maybe a sign too, protesting the Vietnam War, which was another travesty, an illegal, unethical, immoral war that Dr. King spoke out vehemently against, and of course it was assassinated soon afterwards. He opposed the militarism of the U.S. and the capitalism, the economic exploitation of the U.S. Those two killed him. At civil rights too, and standing up for African Americans and people of color. Of course, he had many threats, but then he went against the system, the beast. Anyway, so this gentleman stood there days, months, in front of the Capitol protesting, one-man protest, in front of the White House, I'm sorry. And finally the media caught up with him and interviewed him and said, what makes you think you're going to have any impact on, just doing this on American policy? And he looked at that reporter and very calmly and humbly answered and said, I'm not trying to change or affect American policy. What I'm trying to do is not let it affect or change me. How profound was that? He wanted to be human, not just existing, but alive. Okay, different than everybody else who just was going about their business, just like today. We're all going about our business while people are being massacred, genocide, with our tax dollars, with our bombs. Right here in Cobb County, we have Lockheed that's manufacturing them, and many people are making a good wage there. I don't know if I could do that knowing the result of my labor, but I'm not going to judge individuals. Everybody's, living their own life. So that is another part of the Bible, by the way, Jesus' admonition and all the prophets not to judge one another. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. If Christians just followed that one teaching, the world would be a better place. Okay? And the other one, like in the Black Eyed Peas song, Where is the Love? If we just followed, if we just practiced what we preach, turn the other cheek. So just those two teachings from Jesus would transform the country and the world. Okay, so we know that Christianity is not, the Christianity that's being practiced widely is not true Christianity because it's not following the teachings of Christ. It's following teachings of man, secular, political man. But anyway, so that's one action you can take. Just do your own individual protest. You're disturbing the peace and the comfort, which is what needs to happen, non-violently. So those are a couple things: the soup kitchen, the individual protests, and just keeping this in front of people. Don't forget it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Let people know we're all complicit. Americans are. And then we have our dollars, where we spend our dollars. Find out, and I can help you with this, find out what companies, what banks, whatever are supporting these genocides, and divest from them. Just like the students are asking their colleges, divest from the war machines, divest from Israel until they have a permanent ceasefire and are willing to consider a two-state solution, giving Palestinians their own state, which, by the way, Israel was before it was taken from them, forcefully by the British and Europeans and Americans and given to the Jews after World War II and after the Hitler genocide of Jews. That's history. So learn your history. Join us, the Global Woke Institute. You know, what we're teaching, I know those who are not woke and those who have agendas, political, selfish, ego, materialistic agendas, hate to hear the concept of being woke or awakened. They don't want colleges to teach, or high schools or anything, to teach true history, you know, anything that upsets and disturbs the peace. Really, it means disturb our brainwashing, our conditioning. So, you know, I meant to say in the housekeeping at the beginning of this comment, you know, share your comments on YouTube. There's a place to make comments, and I'll be happy to reply to them. We want to make this as interactive as possible. Eventually, we'll have live streaming where you can, you know, comment real time. Right now, we're going to get through some of these episodes with inspirational vitamins, music, vitamins, and so forth. And feel free to always write to me and us directly. Our email address is globalwokeinstitute@gmail.com. And my phone number is there at the site. You can use that too if you want to text. We're all one family. So I'm going to close off for tonight. And thank you for joining us. And we'll be back soon with another spiritual vitamin, another episode from the Global Woke Institute, Where is the Love series. Good night and ciao.